Now, the United States and Israel jointly launched airstrikes against Iran and killed the former supreme leader over the weekend, Ayatollah Khamenei, who was hated by his own people, hated. Now, he had killed 30,000 protesters during the past several weeks and made life miserable in Iran for his people. And he was actively trying to kill President Trump. Now, he had already killed about 1,000 Americans during his reign of terror. Now, when our president spoke about the strikes on Iranian targets, he referred to Khamenei as a quote unquote wretched and vile man, which he was. Now, he had waged war against civilization itself, as President Trump phrased it. Now, here's Senator Ted Cruz.
Iran no longer being led by a theocratic, murderous dictator, that makes America much, much safer.
Did the president explain to you why he called off active diplomacy? Because at the very same time he was on that plane, the vice president of the United States was talking to the Omani mediator who was trying to get a deal and told us that they were close to one. Why not choose diplomacy?
Because the diplomacy was an abject failure.
So we heard the senator. Diplomacy was an abject failure. And why was that? Well, because among other things, Khamenei wasn't interested in diplomacy. Now, we have a smart president. He saw what was going on, and he sees what's going on, unlike Democrats and even power-hungry people on the right, like Tucker Carlson, who immediately denounced the strikes on Iran. Now, here's what he told a journalist.
So I wanted to know what Tucker Carlson, who has long opposed the idea of another war in the Middle East, what he thought of this. And his answer, he told me of the president's decision is, quote, absolutely disgusting and evil. This is Tucker Carlson, who was at the White House just last week, said that the decision to go to war with Iran is absolutely disgusting and evil.
Absolutely disgusting and evil. Now, I would have thought we reserved those types of epithets for our enemies, not ourselves. Now, maybe Carlson is upset because he thought he'd been making some headway with the president. For instance, there was a controversy recently because Tucker Carlson visited the White House last week. This was a few days before the strikes. Now, Carlson's visit to the White House had led to speculation that maybe President Trump was becoming an isolationist like Carlson. Well, we needn't have been concerned. Now, according to reports, Tucker Carlson's son is the deputy press secretary for J.D. Vance. Carlson and Vance are friends and allies, have been for many years, so Carlson could have been at the White House to visit his son and to visit J.D. Vance. Now, the pro-Zionist wing of the party is asking why Carlson hasn't been banned from the White House. Now, my theory, and I'm just speculating here, in the words of Michael Corleone, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Now, I had to look up the phrase. I didn't know who had said it. Now, apparently it was Michael Corleone, but an earlier variant of the phrase is attributed to Machiavelli, the much admired diplomat and political statesman from the Renaissance. Now, this guy on Reddit expands upon the meaning. He says, an enemy that is under your power is much safer than an enemy far away plotting against you. And from what I can tell, the Trump administration adheres to that principle. For example, Nicolas Maduro and Tucker Carlson are both in close proximity to the White House. With Maduro, his location now at the MDC in New York City is better for America, safer than his previous location in Venezuela. Now, I don't know for a fact if that's why Tucker Carlson hasn't been banned from the White House. I'm just speculating. Now, Governor Mike Huckabee, our U.S. ambassador to Israel, met with Tucker Carlson 2 weeks ago. At the end of their meeting, Ambassador Huckabee told Carlson, I don't hate you. So there is outreach to Tucker Carlson from this administration, as recently as 2 weeks ago. Now, in my view, Tucker Carlson has too much hate. You know, he seems to be trying to use the Bible to advance a political agenda, and he doesn't know the Bible very well. Now, when he was meeting with Ambassador Huckabee, Carlson brought all of his hubris to that meeting. He thought he could debate an ordained Southern Baptist minister about the Bible and Israel. Now, Mike Huckabee was a pastor for 12 years before becoming governor of Arkansas. Now, as I watched the interview, it was like watching a grown-up take candy from a baby, so to speak. Now, Mike Huckabee snatched that candy away from Tucker Carlson. And that's what President Trump did over the weekend as well with the strikes on Iran. That's what it all seemed like to me. Now, I'm just speculating, as I've said. I've mentioned on this channel that type of thing has happened to Tucker Carlson before, when he was fired by Fox News. Rupert Murdoch reportedly said that Carlson was getting too big for his boots. Now, Carlson only began reading the Bible about 2 or 3 years ago after he claims to have been attacked by a demon. Now, millions of people throughout the world are way ahead of Tucker Carlson regarding God's plan for Israel, which is described in the Bible. Now, let's watch this commentator from Australia talking about the death of Khamenei.
We begin tonight's show by sending heartfelt condolences to the Globalise the Intifada mob. Just 6 months ago, they were proudly marching across the Sydney Harbour Bridge beneath a portrait of the Ayatollah, the world's greatest sponsor of terror and promoter of the idea that Israel must be destroyed to usher in the coming of the 12th Imam who would establish Islamic rule throughout the earth.
So we all heard that. Khamenei believed that Israel must be destroyed to usher in the coming of the 12th Imam who will establish Islamic rule throughout the world. I mean, it's no wonder Iran provides 90% of the funding for Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. Now, they're hell-bent on destroying Israel. The October 7th massacre of 1,200 Israelis. Now, that could have been an attempt to destroy Israel and usher in the 12th Imam. I mean, this war that we're fighting now against Iran and its proxies like Hamas is a war against insanity itself. And the war Khamenei was fighting was a war against civilization itself, as President Trump said. Now, meanwhile, Tucker Carlson is smearing the nation of Israel. Here he is pictured in Israel, where most Christian Israelis are Zionists, okay? Christian Zionists. Now, what does that tell us about Israel's management ability? Now, Christians in Israel don't want to overthrow the government and install a Christian government in its place because the current government is just too good at managing not only the geopolitics, which is important, yes, but managing the infrastructure, the services, garbage collection, water provision, etc., which Zohran Mamdani can't seem to manage, just as an example. Now, the Iranian people had no water to drink. And that's one of the key issues for the protest. The water shortage began last year. The Israeli PM, Bibi Netanyahu, had repeatedly offered to share Israel's water technology and conservation knowledge with Iran, but Khamenei refused. I mean, can you believe it? Refused. Now, management ability is what was missing in Venezuela as well, and it caused disastrous impacts for the United States. Now, in Iran, the government was spending billions of dollars to fund the destruction of Israel, to usher in the 12th Imam, instead of accepting help from Israel to provide water for the Iranian people. I mean, what was done to Iran through the joint airstrikes by the U.S. and Israel had to be done for their people. Now, Khamenei was offered a choice, and he made his choice. Now, we don't mourn bad decisions on this channel. We learn from them, and we move on from them. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe.